Hey, economics fans, here is the Phillips curve notes via voiceover for those of you who were absent or want to review. This is just the objective. And we're going to talk about three generalizations of the extended ASAD model. In the short run, there's a trade off between the rate of inflation and the rate of unemployment. Aggregate supply shocks can cause both higher rates of inflation and higher rates of unemployment. In the long run, there's no significant trade off between inflation and unemployment. The first generalization can be seen by shifting the AD curve to the right. What would be the effect upon output, employment, and upon price levels if aggregate demand shifted from 81 to 84? Here is the animation. Assuming a constant short-run aggregate supply curve, we see that high inflation is accompanied by low unemployment. We can demonstrate this short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment by using the Phillips curve. The Phillips curve basically says there is an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment. As inflation decreases, unemployment increases. The short-run Phillips curve is an inverse of the short-run aggregate supply curve. A rightward shift of AD moves up the SRAS curve, which also moves up the SRPC, as you can see in this HD animation. During the 60s, the Phillips curve revealed a stable relationship between inflation and unemployment, as shown in the graphs below. But during the 70s and early 80s, this idea of an always stable Phillips curve was destroyed. In those years, inflation and unemployment rose simultaneously, known as stagflation. So this period proved our second generalization that aggregate supply shocks can cause both higher inflation and higher unemployment. You see a nice graph here with all the dates. A leftward shift of aggregate supply causes stagflation, which equals a rightward shift of the short-run Phillips curve. Kind of like a mirror image. Here's a nice looking guy, Paul Volcker. Somebody probably has him for their economist project. The economy recovered from this period of stagflation when the chairman of the Fed, Paul Volcker, followed a tight money policy aimed at reducing double-digit inflation. It was 13% in 1979. Who was president at the time? Just a little fun fact. See if you know. Unemployment rose to 9.5%, but by 1983, inflation was under control. Only 3.7%. Gross investment was increasing and aggregate demand rose. All these 70s, 80s dates. Increasing aggregate demand beyond full employment may temporarily increase gross domestic product, output, and employment. But when nominal wages eventually catch up, profits will fall, ending the stimulus to produce beyond full employment. So there's no trade-off between the rates of inflation and unemployment in the long run. Like the long-run aggregate supply curve, the long-run Phillips curve is a vertical line at the economy's natural rate of unemployment. And you can see where the inflationary gap is and the recessionary gap is. Remember that. And now we can do the happy little dance. And a word from Arnold and Mr. Walton.